Happy to have our guest, Tom Flaim, with us on the call today. And Tom's going to tell an amazing story. I want to give a little bit of a background on what we're doing here and why we're doing it. Project Smile is an initiative to basically bring free education to the people of the planet that might need it. We've got different types of educational modules on our site. We've got a career module on our site. We've got all sorts of stuff. Our goal, our hope, our desire is to create an environment where anybody that needs support can get it. And we're here to really create exposure. Our last two live streams have been extremely successful. We've had thousands of people from around the globe that have joined us on the stream. And we're here basically to do a couple of different things. The first part of our stream each time is going to be an individual like Tom. Tom's going to tell his story. And Tom is a person that's had a prolonged passion. I'm not going to steal his thunder. He'll tell his story in a second. But I want the world to be introduced to the men and women like Tom that have dedicated a large portion of their lives and their financial means to truly support the solution and the solution that's out there for different people. The other part of the stream is going to be about telling you about Project Smile. We've had tremendous success. We've had over close to 7,000 downloads now between our educational systems and our career programs. After Tom's done, I'm going to explain a little bit more about some things we've added there. And then, we're going to talk more and more about how each person on this call can truly make a difference in the world around them. I tend to tell people, I'm a man of God, not necessarily a man of religion. I don't talk about religion here because however you get to it is up to you. We welcome everybody here. We kind of transcend the religious message by going to the monolithic concept of God is inside of all of us. And it's through that oneness that we all connect. How you get there, quite honestly, is between you and your maker. But what we talk about here is the sense of God and how it's been guiding me and others and Tom. And with that, Tom, welcome to the call. I appreciate you being on. Kind of share with everybody a little bit about your background, Tom. I'll ask questions along the way. Just for the listeners, I told Tom, I'm not trying to be some professional podcaster here. I'm a guy that lives in Atlanta. Tom lives not far from me. We're here to try to help. We're here to expose. We're here to just share our message of hope. And we're hoping that others will do the same thing. So Tom, welcome to our live stream, The Smile. Tell your story and, just kind of go wherever you're comfortable.
Hi, thanks a lot. It's hard. It's a hard question to tell your story. I'm a son of an immigrant. So my parents are both immigrants into America, and went to school and worked hard and became an engineer and civil engineer. And I did engineering for a while, and I liked it, but I found my career path in entrepreneurship. So I started businesses. I've built and sold 4 businesses, and the last business was in water purification. And I was always a believer in God. I never had a faith journey, so to speak. My parents were both Roman Catholics, being from Italy. So I grew up in that worldview. But I left that when I was 18 years old and just really focused on my relationship with God. And it brought me personally, I agree with you entirely that different people arrive at God differently. For me, it was I was in my 40s when I finally decided to get serious about God, and I found a really good solution for me, which was Christianity. But it really fits me and the way I, as an engineer, look at things. I look at things very analytically, and as a scientist, it made the most sense to me, and I just felt comfortable with it. But around 2006, I felt God calling me to the Dominican Republic, and I was on mission from a local church. And I was down in Dominican Republic, and building a church out of that had fallen down in an earthquake. There was a lot of earthquakes in the Dominican Republic. And so this church was crumbling, and so we rebuilt some walls and that kind of thing. And as I was doing this, I had my portable water purifier with me. I have a solar-powered system that I take with me everywhere. And as I was building this wall, there were people lining up to get water from me, and I didn't understand it. And they just, I mean, after the first day, there were like 40 people came to say, "Can I have some of your water?" And I said, "Sure." So I just gave them some clean water. And then by the end of the week, there were hundreds and hundreds of people lined up to get a drink of clean water from me. And I didn't realize the depth of the issue. I knew there was a problem with water, but I didn't realize how deep the issue was. And so God spoke to me very clearly and told me he wanted me to bring clean water and the gospel to Dominican Republic. And so for the last 19 years, I've been trying to do that. We currently have a ministry down there that's giving water to about, I don't know, about 80,000 people a day. And so we're just very blessed to be able to do this. And I've spent the last 20 years of my life, 19 years of my life, really trying to find ways to unite people in need in Dominican Republic specifically, with people of means. And how can they, in America, where we live, there is a tremendous sense of compassion. Americans are known around the world. I've been all over. I've been to Somalia. I've been to Europe. I've been to South America. I've been all over Africa. I've been all over Latin America, bringing clean water to people and helping people with water issues. I'm retired now, so I don't do that anymore. But in the last 20 years, I've been to a lot of places, and you see the need. And it's a tremendous need, but it's different everywhere. In some places like Africa, there's a ton of water, clean water, but it's under the ground. And you can drill a borehole and get water for people very easily. Where I serve in the Dominican Republic, it's not so easy. The island's been infiltrated by salt water from the ocean. And so when you drill a well, you get salt water. So all of our water plants have to be desalination projects, which is extremely expensive and extremely difficult to do. So there isn't one solution that fits for everybody around the world. Then what we have in the Western Hemisphere is very different than what you have in the Eastern Hemisphere. The problems are different. The solutions need to be different, but there are solutions. There's definitely solutions in place. No matter where you are, if you search, you'll find it. There's definitely things that work everywhere. It's a matter of just finding the people, resources, who want to make that happen. Like I was saying, here in America, I've been blessed to meet many people who feel like I do, that this is the world's most critical problem. It's more important than if you took away the clean water issue, you'd have half the wars, you'd have half the starvation issues, you'd have half of everything. Clean water is the key to global development and to global prosperity. And I think that it's been the joy of my life to spend the last 19 years trying to make that happen in one place. I felt God telling me, just do one thing right in one place, and I'll multiply it. I think that's what's happened. We've tried very hard to do one thing right in one place, and God has multiplied it graciously, and we're very grateful for it.
Really amazing revelations. Unlike yourself, for the past 20 years, you knew this concept. I'm in Africa 2 months ago for the first time. I joke with people all the time. I say I'm stereotypical white guy from USA, right? Everywhere I look, there's plenty of water. And you kind of hear it I heard it on the news or whatever, right? But I didn't know. I really didn't know. And but you made mention to me, so I learned about the water issue, but you made mention to me about illness and the number of hospital beds in the world. I don't want to take your words, but I remember you were telling me something about that. Share those statistics and why this is so important.
Well, it's insanely disappointing that here we are in 2025 and still we have 50% of the water beds in the world are taken by someone with waterborne disease. And when you consider the fact that there is no waterborne disease in America, there is no waterborne disease in Canada and in the developed world, that tells you the number of hospital beds taken up by this disease in the developing world. And you couple that with it's a large problem in a lot of places. I have been told, I don't know if this is correct, I've been told that 50% of the medicines and the money spent on medicine worldwide goes towards treating people with waterborne disease. Money that could be freed up for other medicines if we just solve the water problem. And the water problem is not that difficult to solve, especially in the Eastern Hemisphere, where you've got clean water. You drill a hole in the ground, clean water comes up. It's not clean. Sometimes it needs to be treated, but for the most part, you drill a borehole anywhere in Africa or in Asia, you're going to get drinkable water. This is absurd that we don't have that solution everywhere. Why is it that isn't more prominent? And there are many ministries in the United States, and I can certainly turn you on to some of those. They're doing work in Africa that will go in a community, drill a hole in the ground, and they'll take care of hundreds of thousands of people. And that's great. Where I work, it's not so simple. It costs us several $100,000 to build a water plant that's going to take care of probably up to 20,000 people. But it's where God told me to serve. So that's where I'm working right now. When he tells me to do something different, I'll do something different. But yeah, the numbers are staggering. The numbers are truly staggering.
I'm one of these guys that when I get in the middle of something, I learn, and I've learned a lot from you. It's interesting how God talks, right? I was in a presentation with a gentleman, Tim Finberg, our mutual friend, 15 years ago, and he's talking about how for $4,000 there was a water filtration system, right? That could help a bunch of people. I never forgot that conversation. Tim is a pretty good friend of mine, and he introduced me to you over these past couple of months. And when I met you this time, you said, well, I said, so tell me about that $4,000 water system. And you said, well, that doesn't really fit anymore because the issues have changed. But you also said the technology has changed. So share with people that are listening here how 20 years ago, there could have been billions and billions of dollars, but not necessarily the technology like there is today. So can you kind of explain the transition of the technology over the past 20 years that also creates the opportunity for a very large change?
So that's a good question. A good point. 20 years ago, there was no technology. The technology that my team developed was developed 19 years ago. And before that, there really wasn't a good solution to do large scale. Either you dug a borehole and got water clean enough to drink out of the ground, or you're pretty much in trouble. In the Dominican Republic, they're drinking out of sanitary sewers, out of the water they irrigate the fields with, which is insanely contaminated. That's what they're drinking. If they don't get water from us, that's pretty much what they're drinking. And we can help that with a very expensive solution. But along the way, though, right now you can do a water system that will clean water enough for 15, 20,000 people a day for 10, 15 grand shipped. It's going to require, though, sustainability. And the thing that's different about what we do in Dominican Republic is all of our water plants are highly sustainable organically. We don't have to give them any more money. Once we do a water plant, they're on their own. And there's a whole model in place that allows them to be 100% sustainable. When you do something in Africa, for instance, or in Asia, it's hard to do sustainability, which is why 50% of the water projects fail after 5 years, statistically, because there's no mechanism in place to develop a sustainable model. And that's really bad. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. That's where the rub is. How do we create a sustainable solution in areas that have no money? Where I work in Dominican Republic, we sell water, a 5-gallon jug of water sells for about 20 cents American, which is very, very expensive. And people have that. Even the poorest people have that. And so we can create that very small revenue stream that is used then to maintain the technology. When you go places that have zero money, and I've been to Somalia and Ethiopia and places like that, and they don't have any money, that becomes very difficult. But if you can find an organization that will give you $2,000 a year, American, even $1,000 a year American, you can put in place a solution for about $15,000 that will work, and it will do a great job, and it will clean contaminated fresh water. There's another solution. It's a straw. It looks like, it's about this size. It's about the size of a straw that you might get in a restaurant to drink from. It goes about $10, and it will clean water for about 2 months. And we use that for disasters. So like in Nepal and the Philippines, we send a helicopter over a disaster site and drop boxes of these on the ground. The box breaks open, and people grab a straw and they can drink from the puddles. They can drink from whatever water source they can find. And it will last for anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months. And that's great, but, $10 a piece. But it's a temporary solution. And that's the problem in the world, is that there is no mechanism in place for the sustainable solution in the parts of the world where a lot of your audience is. You need to find a mechanism for that. If there's anybody working in disasters, let me know, and I can certainly set you up with a lot of straws that will take care of a lot of people when disaster strikes. And we've done this in Indonesia. We've done it for tsunamis. We've done it all over the place. If you've got contaminated fresh water available, we can get you through a disaster, and it's pretty inexpensive. The problem is when you want to do a sustained solution, and even that though is not that bad. You're talking about a couple $1,000s American a year, which a lot of folks have access to that. A lot of places around the world have donor sponsors that can do $15,000, $20,000. The water system's $15,000. Now you got to build a little, we used to call them water huts. That you got to build a structure. You got to secure the structure. So a total solution might be $20,000 American, and then a couple $1,000s a year after that. The problem is you got somebody who's going to do that, and then 5 years down the road, that person passes away. Or that organization says, I'm sorry, we're no longer working in Ethiopia. We're not going to go work in Tanzania. And they pull out, and their resources pull out. And all of a sudden, that water purification system becomes worthless. And 5 years later, you see ivy growing up over the water purifier. And it's sad, because in America, there's a lot of people with a great amount of compassion, a lot of churches, a lot of organizations, but they have to go where the money goes, quite frankly. And if my donors are interested in Nicaragua and I'm working in El Salvador, I'm going to go to Nicaragua, because that's where the people who fund me are. That's where their hearts are. And so that's where we have to go. And so a lot of work gets abandoned. It's terrible. It's horrible, because you take a place, you give them clean water for 4 or 5 years, and then you pull that away from them, and now the bacteria in the water just has a field day, because there's no immunity built up. It just goes in and it makes people sick immediately. It's terrible. And quite frankly, as an American, people get mad at America. You brought me this technology, now you're taking it away. Now all of a sudden, you gave me this great resource, and now my people are sick again. What did we do wrong? Why are you leaving us? Those are hard truths that happen all over the world, and it's a shame. It's shameful, but it's the way it is. And so the real key, the real solution is to find a sustainable model. I've gone so far as to say, if you've got a donor that's got a lot of money, $2,000 a year will buy the filters. Well, if you can do 10% interest a year, if you get somebody who can take $30,000, put it in the bank and create a fund that the interest in that every year is going to pay for the filter replacements, you've got a sustainable solution. But you got to find somebody willing to put that money in a bank and give you that interest every year. You know what I'm saying? There are mechanisms in place to make this happen. It's just not being done right now. It's not convenient. You've got to find someone, typically in America, that's going to drop $20,000 for a solution and then $30,000 for a financial fund that will feed the recurring cost of the solution. So there's ways to make it happen. And if anybody wants to talk about it, I've done white papers on it. I've made presentations at international, conferences on it. The problem is nobody wants to do it because it's not a lot of aha. Everyone loves that aha moment. I drill a well and people get water and everyone's happy and there's, dancing children and women and everyone's excited because we brought water. That's the aha moment. That's what gets people turned on. What doesn't get people turned on is stroking a check for $30,000 that's going to go sit in a bank somewhere, drawing interest for people so that people 50 years from now can get water. That isn't as exciting. You know what I'm saying? I as a donor, I can take that $30,000 or $50,000 and drill 15 wells, 20 wells. And right now, I get the emotional satisfaction, and my donors get the emotional satisfaction of giving water to all these people. But then you go back 10 years later, and it's gone. It's not working. But I'm off to something else, right? And that's it's a paradox that is stopping international development. It's really stopping it because until we can provide a sustainable solution for every human being in the world to get clean water, we are never going to solve the clean water crisis. I can give you a pellet of bottled water and you're going to drink for 6 months or 3 months, but then you're back to where you were before. The crisis has not been abated. It's not been made better because I did this for you, even though it might make me feel good. And that's the problem with the United States government. Like in Haiti, I was there at the great earthquake in Haiti. I was there the day after the earthquake hit. And we brought in sustainable water solutions. The American government shows up with an aircraft carrier full of bottled water, enough bottled water to get them through like 2 or 3 months. And then after 2 or 3 months, the people are dying from bad water again. And that's the problem. And unfortunately, I don't have a solution for that other than to say, if you listening to this right now, if you have access to resources, financial resources, change their minds. Change their minds from thinking short term. Because as Americans, we see as far as our nose. That's as far as we can see. We love immediate gratification. We love to stroke a check and know that right now someone is getting helped. Someone's getting saved. We're making a real difference in someone's life. And we don't look down the road 10, 20 years. That's Eastern mentality. Eastern mentality is like Eastern religions. They go back thousands of years. They think long term. We as Americans don't think long term. And you in the developing world have to change our minds. You have to change the way we have to think. You have to have the courage to go to the people who give you money and say, thank you, but we want to do something different with your money. Can we talk about something different? And that takes courage because they might say, no, we're going to go help someone else because clearly we're not thinking the same way. That could happen. And now you've lost your benefactor.
America specifically,
I'm sorry, you
guys
just
like,
cut out there. You cut out for
can
a
you hear me?
second, Joe. I couldn't hear you.
Can you
Can
hear
you
me
say that
now?
again? Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you now.
Um, 20 years ago when you first started your projects, um, are there more people now with the monetary means to donate than there were 20 years ago? Economy's different, the next level, right? So basically what you're saying here is all about what you and I have been talking about. Where it's an educational model. You can feed somebody, you can give somebody a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. And your model is the sustainable model. So what we're
Absolutely.
doing here at Project Smile is helping, letting people know we've got a solution. We know what we've done in the past. We can build a well, but if we don't build a well that has sustainability, it's short term versus long term. So
Exactly.
we have the knowledge to do it. Now we just have to create the education for the people with the money, because that's what you're saying, right? And also for
Exactly.
everybody listening here who may or may not have the money, is it a true statement to say, like you said earlier, Americans are compassionate? There's a lot of people around the planet that have deep pockets and are very compassionate. Would you say there's more of those people today than there were 20 years ago?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it comes from different places.
yeah,
Technology in the last 20 years has made millions of millionaires. People have resources. And the difference now, too, is that a lot of those resources are on paper. People like a lot of very wealthy people have all their money invested in stocks. They have it in paper. It's not transferable money. Today, you find more and more people with cash, more and more people with the money to do it. And the problem
right,
is they don't know who to talk to. They don't know
right,
who to trust. Who do I trust? If I've got money and you come to me and you say, "Hey, I support a church and the work they do in Pakistan right now." And the guy came to me, he read my book, he contacted me, he said, "How can we work together?" I'm like, "Well, it took me 3 months to vet this guy. Literally. I spent 3 months. Is this guy for real or not?" Because the world is full of charlatans. It's full of evil people who will take people with compassion and steal their money. And that evil stops more than anything else because the people with money say, "I can't trust anyone. If I can't trust anyone, I'm going to keep my money. I'm going to focus on me." And that's what the evil force in the world wants to happen. They want us to be thinking about us. Focus on me, not you. And God says, no, focus on me first, you second, and me last. That's the order that God has it. When I read my scriptures, it's God first, you second, me third. And the current culture says me first because I don't trust anyone else. And we've got to provide trustworthy solutions for people with people with money, people with means. Listen, we've been doing this. We've been successful. Let me show you. Come, let me show you what we're doing. And then they say, wow, how can I help you specifically? How much do you need to make a difference here or there? But the good news there too is that it's gotten a lot cheaper to fly places. It's a lot easier. I can fly to Africa. You will fly there, no big deal. I can fly anywhere in the world, almost not inexpensively, but certainly cheaper than it used to be. And there's flights every day going everywhere in the world. So if I truly have a heart for what you're doing, and you say, please come, look at what we're doing. Let me share with you what we're doing. We are for real. My problem is for real. You might get someone to come over there. You might just do it. I get people go to Dominican Republic all the time because I tell them, look, you've got to come and see it. You have to feel it. You have to fall in love with the people that I have fallen in love with. You have to fall in love with a culture that is so different from us. Then you're going to go, this is, I love this. I love these people. I love what you're doing. How can I help? Because people don't know that there's a problem. In many parts of the world, people don't know. It's hard for your listening audience, I think, to understand that we don't get it. We don't understand that when I go to my water faucet, I turn the water on, it's always clean. We never drink bottled water, ever. Never. And I think a lot of people in our audience would not just find that impossible to understand. But for people who've got money, they don't worry about water. So for them, it's not a problem. We have to make them aware of the problem. We have to educate them on the problem. We have to educate them that there are sustainable solutions. There is a way to fix this problem. There's a way to make sure that that little child right now, in Dominican Republic or anywhere, who is going to die within 5 years because they're drinking contaminated water, doesn't have to die. And it's because of you. You can make that happen. I'm telling you, you tell people that story and they're going to want to help, because people at their core, people are good. They want to help. They realize anyone who's been blessed in life with money, I've been blessed with money. I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't me. I don't have the brains to get what I've gotten. I don't have the brains to start and sell businesses. I know it's not me. It's a team of people, and it's God saying, this is what I want you to do right now. I'm going to make you successful, because things have happened, miracles have happened, coincidences have happened that have changed the trajectory of my life and of my financial resources. But, anyone who's got money knows in their heart that it's not them. Yes, it was a lot of them, but not all of them. And it's time to give back. It's time to help others who have their own story. They have their own opportunities. It's time to return to the community and help others. And that's what God wants us to do. And that's anybody with money out there who's listening. The reason you have money is because God has given it to you to see what you're going to do with it. He didn't. God gives us all resources, money, intelligence, whatever, to see what we're going to do with it. He's our Father. He wants to look down and go, wow, Joe, you're killing it, man. I gave you a little bit and look what you're doing. That's what God as a father wants to say. We all want to say that about our child. I look at my kids and go, wow, I can't believe what they're doing with what I gave them. And that's the nuts and bolts of it, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, in recap, 19 years ago, God guides you to Dominican Republic. And for 19 years, you've invested yourself, you've followed God's message, you've created a system, there's solutions now. And literally now, because of that following, you're creating an environment where 80,000 people a day are getting clean water. The goal is 10 times that, and we're going to expand that with 10 times. So in the last thought, Tom, how would you wrap up? Just like you were just talking about, God has a plan for everybody. From a spiritual perspective, what would you be telling everybody who's listening and anybody who's going to listen to this podcast in the future? What's your spiritual message to each person out there about the gift that God has given them?
Well, I think that, quite frankly, people need to stop praying. They need to start listening. God is talking to us all the time. And many of us, when we pray, we talk to God. We look at God as Santa Claus. Well, in our culture, Santa Claus brings gifts to people on Christmas once a year. We look at God that way. If I pray for something, I'm going to get it. Oh, God, please help me with this. Help me with that. Help me with this. We need to pray to God for noble thoughts. When I pray to God, I say, God, help me solve the water crisis. Help me do this. And I stop and I listen. God knows what you want. He's talking to us all the time, but we just don't listen. We need to get quiet, shut up, and just listen. And I think spiritually, if we do that, we're going to hear God's voice very clearly on our hearts. And if you don't, keep praying and then stop and listen. Because, prayer and spiritual, it's an active communication. It's an active relationship. And in a relationship, if all I do is talk, my wife is going to walk away from me, right? And every successful relationship starts with listening. As the owner of a business, if I don't listen to my employees, they're going to leave me. If I don't listen to my customers, they're going to leave me. Well, God is the same way. God is no different. God is listening, and He wants you to listen. I think that would be a significant takeaway for people. There's many, as an ordained pastor, I can give you many, 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 but that's one I think that God just put on my heart. So I'll leave it at that.
Really appreciate your time, sir. Thank you for everything you've been doing for the past 20 years. Thank you for our new friendship and your book. You're going to donate your book to our site so everybody can visit and download your book at Project Smile. And Tom, I really appreciate your time, sir. And thank you. Thank you for your time. So I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you
brother.
so
I
much.
appreciate you. Bye now.
Absolutely. Okay. You can click off, Tom. Well, Tom is an amazing man, I have to tell you. I've known him now for probably 90 days, a little bit longer, and his passion of God is just absolutely fantastic. I have to say, the more I'm out back in the world, his message is very, very almost identical to mine. And isn't that amazing? He didn't come up with it, neither did I. What's my tagline? Ask, listen, live. Well, ask is the concept of prayer, whatever you do. But the listening part is the key, the true key. How can you do what you do if you never stop to listen and then live? And one of the things I want to talk about today as we close up over the next 10 or 15 minutes, I want to talk about how each person that's listening here can do something different in their world to change the world. Not everybody has an engineering degree. Not everybody has a passion to go to Dominican Republic or Somalia or whatever. But everybody has a God inside themselves. Everybody does. We all do. And that's just the spiritual truth that you may or may not believe. Honestly, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. The facts are the facts. And that spiritual essence is talking to you. But the only question is, are you listening? And so very many people think that, well, if I had a different job, or if I lived in a different place, or my means were better, or I had more external, then I could do more. That's just a simple falsehood. And let me give you a couple of examples. There are spiritual leaders of the past 2 millennia. A man that was nailed to a board called the cross 2,000 some odd years ago. He died with nothing. Not one item. We're still talking about him today. The entire religion of Christianity was formed around this one powerful man. Is this man remembered because of his money, his house, No, he's remembered because of his acts of kindness, his acts of giving. Every leader, the leader of the Muslim religion, the leaders of all religions, most all of them started and lived with no means, like literally barely food. But what are they known for? They're not known for their accumulation. They're known for what they've given back. They're known for the kindness that they've given. At Project Smile, our goal here is to educate everybody and show everybody that there's a world of people out there like Tom. Every guest I have on this particular live stream every 2 weeks is going to have a similar message to Tom. It's just going to come out in a different way. Why? Because we're all human. We're all different with the same God. I don't care if you're here in the US or in Bangladesh or in India or Africa. I don't care where you are. The same God is in each of us. The question is, what are you doing today to live the God that's in you? My friend Avril has a great idea, and he loves the idea of creating smiles. And one of the tabs on our website is called Smile. So what we're wanting people to do is see how many smiles today you can create. And we would love for you to take a video of some action step you did that created a smile in somebody else. Our goal is to have 1 million downloads. Our ultimate goal is to create 1 billion smiles per day. 1 billion smiles per day. And you can actually upload it in a photo or you can upload it in a video. Either way, it's up to you. We want millions and millions of those videos and those photos. Why? Because then it's working. I just got a message today. A woman said, "So Joe, what's your ultimate goal?" I don't have an ultimate goal and I don't have a beginning goal. I have one goal, and that is to inspire people to follow the God that's inside of themselves. Now, if you're somebody that needs, the educational tools that we have, go to Project Smile and learn. We literally just this week, it's new, go visit. We have now added to our platform a link that will take you directly to a link of a system that has helped over 80 million people be educated, all free. And the only reason I don't mention that company's name right now is because I am not in partnership with them. I have nothing to do with them. They don't even know I exist. But the kind-hearted man that developed this literally in his agreement said, give it away, give it for free. I wish I could meet the guy and hug his neck. Someday I'll have him as a guest on our program right here. So I don't want to break any rules that I might innocently do. But here's a human being back in 2012 created a program, 50 different languages, AI on there. He's done everything we want to do. He's already done it. So our role at Project Smile is to be the voice, is to be the go-to person between these people with prolonged passion and exposure. And each one of you out there, if you have money, donate. Please donate. And if you don't, donate to us, donate to your society. Well, how can you do that? Joe, I don't have any money. I didn't ask you to give money. I asked you to give kindness. I'm asking you to hold the door for somebody. I'm asking you to pick something up when it drops in front of you. I'm asking you to let somebody in front of you in a line. I'm asking you to do exactly what Tom just said and sit and listen. What are you being guided to do? Do you know? If you know, you can literally email me at joe@joemitiga.com and I will share your inspiration on this show right here, on this live stream. When Avra and I was talking, he was telling me about the concept. And one of the things, just like Tom is doing, we at Project Smile are about empowering people. We'll rescue people in a position of complete survival. We've fixed the roofs of 2 different orphanages. Avril's working with several different people. We're buying food carts for people in India. Soon we'll have a video of a gentleman that I've been working with in Africa, and we empowered him and his wife to start a juice business. They did it before. And basically, because of his juice business, he's able to make enough money to satisfy his own family needs and to give money to the orphanage that I support. And does he still need more? Yes, he's the individual that we're working on getting a water tank for. But Avril had a great idea. He says, everybody, whatever your business is, right, at the end of the day, you might have a little bit extra. And your giving doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be from the heart. Giving away a cup of juice that is going to go to waste or to somebody that truly doesn't have it is an act of God. That's you living as the God inside of you. Every time you take an act of kindness, whether you know it or not, you're listening to God. Your lower self, Tom said it beautifully, and it is interesting because he's right. Societal norms on my side of the world, and it's great because half of the people I talk with now in my day-to-day conversation, their comments are, well, it's on my side. Well, Avro and the different people that I deal with are in India. I'm in the US. We're literally on 2 sides of the world. One of the powerful things about technology, we have communication anywhere on the planet, literally, and giving back on a daily basis. And Avro was talking about, the idea of giving back a little bit of juice. If you have a little bit extra juice and you can give it back, that's listening. That's you living as the higher you. I wrote the book We. You can see it over my shoulder here now. It's going to come out, published in September. And you'll be hearing me talk about it a lot. Tom mentioned it, the concept of my book, we. Like he said, especially in our world, and I'm talking in generalities, right? The me, the I, the accumulator, the all about me, the personality of self is that individual aspect that has dominated the world for millennia, since Caesar, literally. Well, you know what? Consciousness is changing. The world is changing. What used to be okay 200 years ago is now complete atrocity. Here in the States, the civil rights movement and the rights of people, the rights of women 50 years ago, even here, were minimal. In other countries, the rights of women not long ago were zero. And I don't know the details of all of it, but I know for a fact, globally, it's getting better. Why? Because consciousness is changing. We are changing. Humanity is changing. All of us inside that God sense first is growing. We all are multidimensional beings. There's a higher you, the human you, and the inner you. Well, the human you without guidance from a higher you tends to be the part of self that is accumulating for just you. Like Tom was saying, the me. Well, God's message is God first, somebody else second, and yourself third. And I get it completely. And the world now, each person in the world now has the availability to do that today. Some people have the availability to do it with millions of dollars. Some people have the availability to do it with a cup of juice. Is either one of them grander than the other? No, they're identical. And I know you're probably saying, what are you talking about, Joe? Identical. Giving $1 million versus giving a thing of juice? You know what? Friends, I don't care about what is being given. I only care that you're doing the act of the giving. Because when you're in the act of giving, you're in the act of God. How you get there, I've said it 1,000 times. As you can tell, Tom's religion and everything, he's a devout human. He figured out what makes sense for him. I've talked to hundreds of people every day. I don't care how you get there, but just be there. And then practice the principles of whatever it is your spiritual world is telling you to practice and to live. And there's not a principle out there per religion that says me first and go to hell with everybody else. It's the opposite. And so many people, and probably a lot of people on this call today, are saying, well, I have nothing to give. How can I help? That's a falsehood. I'm not asking for your material wealth. I'm asking for your heart. And each person has the availability, regardless of your financial circumstance, regardless of where you live, regardless of your traumas or your glories. We all have the capacity, as we're sitting here right now, to give back from a place of the heart. And when you're in that place, when you're in that giving, when you're living from that spot, right then you're living of God. And does that mean you don't take care of yourself? Of course not. God can only do for you what God can do through you. And God wants you to thrive also. That's why we created Project Smile. If there's a career that you're wanting to learn and it's not on there, get in touch with us. Email us. My contact information is right on there. Every month, we're going to be adding more career paths on our website. We've had close to 5,000 people download different careers on our website. And our hope is, our prayer is, my inspiration, and Avril the same, is that people are guided to the site. People will find something and they say, oh my gosh, this is what I want to learn how to do. And they download it, they're educated, and then they use their knowledge and their passion to go live something different, to go live a grander you. And you know why that's so important? Because the grander you make yourself, the more availability you have to give to somebody else. And that's the key. That's the circle. Our society today, humanity today, is totally different than it was 100 years ago, totally different than it was 50 years ago, even 20 years ago. I can tell you, I come across people literally every day, like Tom. You're going to hear him on my calls. The guy we're going to have on these next couple, I've got the next three sessions already set up with people that have a passion from their heart that they're giving back. And I want everybody to understand some people have the availability to give back in knowledge. Some people have the availability to give back in millions of dollars. Some people have the availability to give back in a smile, in the creating of a smile. Which is grander? None of them. If you're living God, you're living God. God isn't calibrating your oneness based on your capacity of what it is you're giving. God created your oneness for you to remember that that's how you live his glory, and that is in the giving. One of the things I learned in this whole process, I've been very grateful. I've had an amazing life. It was pretty dark years ago, but I came out on the other side. I've got two gifted kids. I've got a really nice house. Everything around me is wonderful. What I realized is that sense of gratitude is an ever-chasing event. I'm always pursuing and I'm grateful for something, but then once the kind of the wow factor goes away, you pursue gratitude again. Well, in the giving back component of life, the living of God life, the living of a legacy position, that's a sense of grace. It's an ever satiating experience. I learned firsthand about how kids die if they drink poor water. The gentleman that we invested in his juice business, I was able to a couple of months ago give a few dollars because one of the kids drank dirty water. High fever, could have died. Another little girl for $50, Patricia. She's kind of like my poster child. I can hardly wait for her to become a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer with two hands because little Patricia broke her arm. And for $50, we were able to help. So the grace I feel isn't because of the dollars and cents. The grace I feel is because I'm in the act of giving. I'm in the act of helping people remember the highest sense of the truth. What we're doing here at Project Smile, we want to be the vehicle. You heard Tom say it. Now, this is a man that has been in the center of helping change lives for 19 years. He's humble. He personally has put over $1 million of his own money into that adventure down there in the Dominican Republic. And I could go on and on about the humility of that man. You don't know a lot of the story, but he's in the center of it and has been. And when I asked him the questions before, are there more people than ever before willing to give? The answer is yes, without question. Why don't they? Lack of exposure. How can each person on this call help me create more exposure? Make this call bigger. Make it bigger. Everybody on this call can tell another person for 2 weeks. Why did I do it on the 1st and 15th, not a particular day? Because everybody can remember the 1st and the 15th. Why did I do it 10 o'clock Eastern US? Because most time zones in the world are later in the day. Avril is now, it's 7:30 or 8:30 where he is in India, and time frames in Africa and Bangladesh and the different places of the planet. It's mid-afternoon, late afternoon, early evening for you. So how can you help us? How can you truly help Project Smile raise awareness and create 1 billion smiles a day and raise $1 million? Build this podcast with me. Why? Our first podcast had 12,000 people. Our second podcast had 30 some odd thousand people. And right now, I don't care if we have 50,000 or if we have 500. I know that people are listening. I know that as the podcast gets bigger, more and more people are made aware of it. And the more people that are made aware of Project Smile, the more people are going to come with funds. And like Tom says, they're afraid to invest because they don't know where the money's going. Well, technology removes that. I literally just did a presentation, and I'll kind of close with this. Why is everything so different today? Why do I truly believe organizations like Project Smile are going to be around and are going to change the world? Because A, consciousness of humanity has changed. What was completely dark and dead 20, 30, 40 years ago isn't anymore. More and more people are waking up to the reality that God is inside, and it's time to give back. Technology has changed. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I have people around the globe that are watching this podcast live, literally because of technology. This wasn't possible 10 years ago. It wasn't. The phrase, ye shall do what I have done in grander things. I don't think when that message was shared 2,000 years ago, the messenger was saying, yeah, you're going to create a miracle and raise people from the dead with no medicine. I think what the messenger was saying way back when is over time, he never said how. He only said what. Now, there are people much more divine than I will ever be that walk on water, raise from the dead, and cure the sick. They do it through miracle. Guys like me, guys like Avril, guys like Tom, guys like and gals like us around the world, I don't really care the how. I don't really care how we do it. I only care what we're doing. And what we're doing is creating a message. Technology allows for the message to be spread around the globe in a very short period of time. The other thing that's different, we live in an economic era that dwarfs even 20 years ago. Literally, my message to people out there with more money than month is 1% one time. That's it. 1% one time. Does it really matter when you die if you're listening to this now or in the future and you have $1 million? Do your kids really care if you give them $990,000 when you die or $1 million? And the answer, of course, is none. They don't. But that $10,000, that 1% in India would buy 200 carts and get people started in business. In Somalia, it would develop 2 different water systems. In Dominican Republic, it would put 50 people to work. In Africa, where we're working to raise $2,000 for a water tank, it would create 5 water tanks that collect rainwater. Is that a community solution? Yes. Any sustainability? No. It's rainwater. $10,000 could help 500 people or 5,000 people have water. 1% one time. And that's all part of the difference. We live in an era of time different than any other era ever. And that's why I truly believe that what we're doing here is the beginning. How can you help me? Spread the word. Everybody can put projectsmile.world on their social media. One person, and I know someone's going to say, well, why would I forward it? I only have 9 followers. I only have 19 followers. I only have 90 followers. Okay, that's fine. If I have 10,000 people put our message on their Instagram and each 10,000 people had 100 people, do the math. That's 1 million. 10,000 times 100 is 1 million more people will hear about us. Some people have money. Some people have the ability to create exposure. Everybody has the ability today to live as their highest self. God is inside of you. God wants you to listen. And how are you hearing God, consciously or unconsciously? Every time you're giving back, you're living in your highest sense and you're living from a sense of God. I really appreciate everybody being on the call. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. Thank you, Tom Flaim, for everything you're doing. Thank you for the staff behind the scenes here that make this possible. And thank you so much for all of our followers and everybody watching this program today, because it's because of you we're here. We hear you. We see you. I wish I could hug every one of your necks. I love each and every one of you as if you're my own. Why? Because we're all connected as one. We all have the same God inside. Now it's up to us to continue to create the environment where the rest of the world gets exposed to it. 1 billion smiles a day is our goal. Please help me accomplish it. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Until 2 weeks from now. Love you all, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daddy Joe and Project Smile, for loving us.